How's it going? Today's exciting because I need you to, what I'm getting ready to go over with you, I want you to buckle in because we're going to be going over some things that you're going to go, what did she say? What? I don't understand it. So what do? You just press replay and you watch it again and again and again, because these are things that I'm trying to teach you that are going to be things that you are going to put in your toolbox that are going to allow you to be able to create all these different beautiful finishes, to be able to rescue and restore the 28 million tons of furniture that we throw away in this country every year. And it's going to be able to let you see how diverse the finishes can look that you're learning how to do. So, y'all know one of my favorite things to do is Toscana milk paint finishes. But, so here's the deal. A lot of people don't understand all the different products and all the different sealants. And do I use a binder? When do I use a binder? Why do I use a binder? What do you have to use a binder? Did you know you could use furniture tonic on top of milk paint? Why? What does it do? How's that different than wax? What if I put the matte sealer on top of the milk paint? What is it going to do? So anyway, so I'm going to go over all of these, but I also want you to be able to see the difference in the finishes that you can create, because all different pieces that you're going to be working on are going to have different looks. And here's the other thing. Today I'm working on flat surfaces, nothing carved, because a lot of the pieces that you're going to be working, they don't have any carved surfaces on them, and you're going, I'm not really sure. Like Amy loves working on these carved pieces of trim. There's a reason for that. But I thought, I've got large pieces of wood that I am going to be working on that's going to allow you to be able to see the difference. So take a deep breath. Just chill, take some notes, and really and truly do hashtag replay. Watch this again and again, because these are the type of things that I want you to understand, because then it takes away this fear. When we are fearful of something, fear keeps us from accomplishing things. And I know that there are a lot of you out there that you have a desire, that you love finishes. You have a desire to be able to start a furniture business. You want to turn around, you want to flip furniture. I'm going to tell you something. I was a single mom and I flipped furniture. It was how I made my living. Is it viable? Absolutely it is. 100%. The best way to do it is that you've got to have finishes that are your portfolio. They're your calling card. They're what you're going to use to be able to show people that you know your stuff. And by the fact that you have taken the time and you have invested in yourself by watching me run my mouth, you're going to go, you know what? I'm actually learning something. I understand now what Amy's telling me. Because what I try to do is make sure that you understand the reason for products and the reason for doing something. So I'm going to quit talking and I'm going to get started. So be sure when you come on, say hey, and I'm going to show you. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you, Janet. So I'm going to be taking this milk paint finish. I'm going to be adding today, I'm going to be adding an overlay of this Paris stencil, because I want to show you how to be able to create artwork on milk paint finishes and then come back and seal them with the matte sealer. Easy peasy. So whether you're doing this on an actual piece of furniture or you're doing it maybe on the drawers or whatever, it's so fun, so easy, I promise. I don't have it finished because I'm going to be doing it right here live on camera. All right, so, but I want to go over with you about several different products that you maybe have been confused about. So I'm going to turn this down for just a minute because I want you to be able to see what it is that I'm talking to you about. Be sure and say, hey Amy, tell me where you're tuning in from, and then ask me a question. Guys, I go back, Gina helps me sometimes, and we go back and we answer your questions. It's very important to us, and we love seeing your names. You're people, you're my peeps. And I see a lot of people in my Old World Finishing course, a lot of folks that I've seen your things on the before and after page, everything. So I care, I look at them myself, and I have a team of people too that help me here with our tickets, and we want to make sure that you get your answers. All right, so I'm going to turn this down. So I've got several boards here. I try to lay it out because I want you to be able to see the difference as far as how we go from just a plain raw surface to a finished good. So let's start with the raw. I'm going to take these away just really quickly. And I love seeing the transformation myself. It makes it a lot of fun. And let's look at these side by side. This is definitely not my finished piece, but it does give you an opportunity to be able to see the direction that we're going. You know, the fun thing is how we can make something have a lot of depth and a gorgeous finish just by going from raw wood. We literally did this minutes before we went live, how to be able to get this look. So the way you can get a really authentic look like this, guys, is with the milk paint. I'm sorry, but the process that we have, there's nothing like it anywhere. Our process is patented as well. So the way that we do ours and what I'm showing you today is not anything that you're going to see anywhere else. So, all right, so we're going to start with raw wood. Now, and I will tell you, there's a lot of great pieces at IKEA that are made from raw wood. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some stain. If you've not worked with our stain, this is an amazing stain. You're going to get spoiled really quickly. And I'm going to take the English walnut. This is a gel. It smells amazing. It's really thick. It's water-based. It has no VOCs. And look at it. Look at it looks like gorgeous fudge. Like just gorgeous. Look at that. And it's slow. I mean, as far as how you can see, it's gonna, look at that. Because it's a gel consistency, it's gonna be a lot easier to go on. It's gonna go a lot further. And I'm gonna put just a little bit on with my sponge brush. I'm not having to be real concerned about the direction per se. I'm gonna probably go with the grain as I always do when I'm using stain. So y'all are like, wait a minute, why is she staining? I thought we were gonna be talking about milk paint today. We are. But because milk paint, what is the difference between milk paint and a chalk-based paint or our one step? It's the fact that it is actually casein. It's milk paint, so it allows me to be able to remove the paint with antiquing glaze and give it an aged surface, an aged finish. So I've just applied my English walnut and I'm wiping this off. I'm wiping it with the grain. And then I'm going to allow this to dry about 15 minutes. Everybody with me? We're going to let that dry about 15 or 20 minutes and then we're ready for our next step. So I'm going to set this aside. I've already let it dry. And actually, when this one actually dried down a little bit darker, and you see when it dries down, it's completely matte. So it doesn't have a sheen on it. It's completely matte. And this is what I'm actually going to put my paint on top of. All right? So now let me show you. I used 2 different colors to mix the color that I'm going to show you today. Y'all know I love Amalfi Coast and black. So basically it's 7 parts of Amalfi Coast to 2 parts black to mix this color. You're gonna love this color. The other thing I want you to know is I want you to know that you don't have to work with just the color that's in the bag. These are easily mixed. When you see it in a dry form like this, it will be the color that it's going to dry to. So I'm not going to mix it today. There's a lot of videos that you can go back and you can see this. But basically I did 7 parts of Amalfi to just 2 parts. And this is like 7 teaspoons of this and 2 teaspoons of this. Does that make sense? That makes it a little bit easier because this is really like cooking. This has no VOCs. And this is as much as shopping in the produce aisle as you can imagine. The other thing too, on the back of these bags of milk paint, there's a QR code here. You know, used to people didn't know what QR codes were, but hover your phone over that and you can play a video right then and there when it gets delivered to you so you know how to use that product. All right, so I mixed together 7 teaspoons of Amalfi and 2 teaspoons of black. Now here comes the first step that I'm going to show you as far as learning how to do this. A lot of you have asked, what is binder, Amy? And when do I use a binder? Listen to me very closely. This is very, very important. If you add binder to the milk paint, you want to mix your milk paint up first with the powder and the water. When I mix up my milk paint, it's 1 part water and 1 part powder, all right? So if I have a ½ cup of the powder, I'm going to add a ½ cup of water and I mix it together. So it's 1 to 1. Make it into its liquid form. Then, if you want the binder, then it's time to add the binder. The binder and the paint are the same ratio. 1 part binder to 1 part wet paint. Is everybody with me? Tell me yes. If that makes sense, just say, yes, Amy, that makes total sense. Now, when do I use the binder? I'm going to use the binder if I do not want to antique it. If you want to distress it, and you want to be able to get this look, if you want it distressed, if you want to be able to pull it off, and you want to be able to reticulate it, and you want to be able to have the wood showing through, do not add the binder. But if you want to be able to have a solid, beautiful matte finish that is as hardy as the one-step paint, pretty much as hardy, all you have to do is add the binder. And then you will not be able to antique it. You won't pull it off, but it's going to give you a nice, smooth finish. Now look at me. Just made a mess already. All right, so it's 1 part binder to 1 part milk paint. Is everybody with me? So you're going to need to mix the milk paint first into a water form, and then now mix up your binder. So when you mix up the binder with the milk paint, it's going to be permanent and very durable. It's not going to come off. You're not going to be able to antique it. So I'm going to stir this up just a little bit. I want to make sure that I've got enough pigment there. And I'm going to take, usually when I do this, I'll apply it with a sponge brush. All the time kind of agitating the bottom because the pigments, it's always going to kind of separate. That's part of the joy of working with milk paint. The other thing is, please don't expect for this to be as thick as you normally have on your normal paints. That's not part of the properties of milk paint. It's going to give you this beautiful dead flat matte finish that you're going to fall in love with. Once you get used to it, you get over the fact that you are mixing a paint from a powder form with water and making paint, you fall in love with it. So this is the binder. I'm going to put on 2 thin coats, painting in the direction of the grain. You're going to have some of that grain showing through, that stain, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But I'm going to let this dry down. It's going to take about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put on my second coat. Now, once that dries, it's going to look like this. It's going to dry down to this beautiful matte finish. Now, I will tell you, on this sample, I did not put the binder in it. Because one, I wanted to teach you about the binder. I wanted you to know what the binder is for. So if you add the binder, you cannot antique it. It's going to dry down flat, and then that way you can wax it if you want. The paint is not going to come off with the binder. But now here's our second option. I want to be able to antique this. So this is a large flat surface area. I'm going to show you, let's antique this really quickly. And then it's going to look like this after it's antiqued. Let's look at them side by side. Before the antiquing, after the antiquing. After I've antiqued it, I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a stencil design on top of it because I want to add some artwork. And it's going to look amazing. Okay? All right, so let's antique this for just a minute. I've got my cup here. I'm going to use antiquing glaze. And if you're just now popping on, if you share this video, your name is going to go in for drawing, and I'm going to give every one of these products away free to the lucky winner that we draw next Monday. All right, so I'm going to pour a little bit of this antiquing glaze in my cup. It's water-based. Once you use it, do not pour it back in the container. It is not reusable. So just pour out what you need. I'm going to dip my sponge brush down into my antiquing glaze. And I'm going to come on top of this board that I've painted. Now you're going to see why I stained it first. Those of you that have watched me before, why did I stain this first? Because, look at this. As I'll start to antique this, I'm going to start lifting the paint off of the surface. Look how I am skipping around. I am not going in lines. Don't ever do that. It's going to give you a line. You're going to skip around where it's much more organic. And then if this is, let's say, a drawer that you've painted, and usually as a rule, when I am doing the milk paint, I will not load up 2 coats. I'll just do 1 because I know that I'm going to come in and I'm going to antique it. So let's say this is a drawer, and you could come around the edges, Don't scrape it. Do it a very little at a time. So I'm just going to barely come in. Once you get used to this, you're going to go, I'm never using sandpaper again. Because one, it makes it look a lot more authentic. Can you see that? See that edge? Just a very soft, subtle way of being able to see that it would have had just a little bit of aging. And I don't want to do it everywhere because I don't want you to have a line all the way around the drawer. I'm going to come over here just a little bit, pull it up. I'm very careful. A lot of times I'll work with a dry rag and my sponge at the same time and kind of pat it. That way I can kind of see about how much distressing that I'm getting. All right. Now, I'm going to hit this with a hairdryer really quickly because I want you to be able to kind of see. This looks fairly dark right now, but as it's dried, guess what? Can you believe it? Look how dark it is when it's wet. You can't judge it at any point because it's going to dry down to this color. Are you ready? All right, so let's get our hairdryer. Sorry for the sound. Hang with me for just a second. See it starting to dry? Look at this. Isn't this fun? You never thought watching paint dry would be so fun, did you? Look at this. Now, let's dry it just a couple more places. You see how much lighter it dries? Such a yummy, yummy color. Now, I'm going to set this aside for just a second, but I want you to see something first. A lot of times people will ask me, Amy, will the antiquing glaze change the color of my piece? Yes, it does. This is prior to the antiquing glaze, same color. This is after the antiquing glaze. It changes the color immensely. It adds a little bit of a greener tone to it. It does look a little dirtier. It's a little aged, but that's the whole point. It's part of the antiquing glaze. Now, I want to show you on this piece, if you do the furniture tonic, a lot of people are like, what? Wait, I thought the furniture tonic was just for wood. It is. It's beautiful for wood. But guess what? It's also great to be able to use it on nail paint. But you can come back and antique it if you want to just a little bit before you actually do an application of the furniture tonic. So I'm going to put just a little bit of the tonic in my cup. See, you learned something today you didn't know. And you can come back like this and just brush on the tonic. Look at this. Look at this. You didn't know this, did you? If you, let's say you've got your piece that you put the binder in, the tonic is beautiful to go on top of it. This tonic is going to dry down and it's going to have a luster to it. Now, is it a high sheen? No. It is, but it does have a little bit of a sheen. It won't be matte anymore, but this is all you have to put on top of it. You don't have to come back with wax. This has a hemp oil in it, and this is going to dry down. Now, here's the difference. Here's one that we did earlier. It was this color before we put the tonic on, and this is the color after. Now, look at this. Would you have ever thought, this is permanent, would you have ever thought this color milk paint with the tonic on it would have gone to this color? So now black will remain black, But when you use the tonic, it's going to change the color of the piece immensely. But this is all you have to do. It's shiny right now, but as it dries down, guess what? The tonic is going to go to this more of a matte with a slight sheen, and all you have to do is come back and buff it just a little bit with a dry rag, and you've got a beautiful finish that you can enjoy. You don't have to put anything on top of this. So we talked about the binder. The binder is 1 part to 1 part milk paint already mixed. If you add the binder to the milk paint, it makes it permanent and you cannot antique it. If you want to antique it a little bit and then add the furniture tonic, this is going to dry down to just a beautiful satin finish and you don't do anything else. But it's going to make what you worked on much darker. Now, let's talk about matte sealer. Here's our matte sealer on our milk paint. Now, guys, you have to seal milk paint. It's called Toscana milk paint. It has to be sealed because you can reactivate it to where you can antique it. That's part of why I love it so much. That's how I'm able to achieve looks like this on my furniture. And I'm sorry, guys, but finishes sell furniture. You know that. When you see a piece of furniture and you fall in love with the shape, you fall in love with the color, you fall in love with the distressing. This is what we fall in love with, and I'm going to tell you, this color would go in any decor. It would go with grays, blacks, all white theme. It just would go with anything. This is 7 parts, 7 teaspoons of Amalfi and 2 teaspoons of black. So that helps show you. So let's talk about matte sealer. The matte sealer, the new formula, is completely matte. I really recommend putting it on with a high density foam roller, which is what I have here, and it will not give you brush strokes. It goes on very easily. And I will roll it with the grain. All right, so let's load this up. And I'm gonna go the direction of the wood grain. I'm gonna go the direction of how I painted it. And just long, clean strokes, keeping a wet edge. I'll come back and just kind of finesse it just a little bit. I'm pressing down a little bit because I'm wanting to make sure I don't have any holidays. And this is the matte sealer. Now let's dry it. Let's see what happens. Can you already see here? Look at this. It's already drying down to a matte finish. It's going to go completely matte on me. Can you see it? Now, here's what you need to remember. When you are working, it's going to take about probably 25 to 30 minutes for this to dry down. As you'll start to see, it's going to go from this dark color and it will get back down to this pretty blue, which is the one that I'm in love with. Now, will it be as light as this? No, it's going to be just a little bit darker, but the matte sealer has sealed it and you don't have to come back and add wax if you don't want to. All right. So we talked about the binder. The binder's 1-to-1. You can go back and you can do #replay. You can do the matte sealer on top of your milk paint. You can do the furniture tonic on top of your milk paint, but if you do the furniture tonic, it is going to go considerably darker. All right, so now, let's get to the good stuff. I want to come back, and I'm gonna take my Paris stencil, and I love this one. This is from my sister company, A Maker Studio. And it comes in these little sleeves. And it's important to have these sleeves because I store them in here. And I want you to keep the back. Now, this is amakerstudio.com. And it has an adhesive back. You can use it on top of the milk paint. These are reusable. You can wash it. You can see it's adhesive. I'm just going to peel this off like this. And when you're painting furniture and you want to really create a great look, these are perfect. Look at this. Can lay this down on top of here. Is that not fab? Now watch this. You don't have to have any artistic skill to be able to do this. You just want to have the desire to be able to try it and say, wow, I am in love, because these are actually so fun. So now this is chalk art. This is from my sister company, a Maker Studio. And this is in a dark chocolate. I thought the dark chocolate would be really pretty on this blue that I created with the Amalfi Coast and the black. Are y'all with me? All right, so now I'm gonna just take about this much of the chalk art out, and I'm gonna spread this stuff. Now, what I want you to do when you're doing this is hold this spreader at a 45-degree angle, and you are, sometimes my fingers, you're scraping it. I am pushing it through here where I'm getting it to the other side. I don't want to have a whole lot of excess sitting on the top. It's going to dry fairly quickly, so I'm working fast. Working really fast. But I could be doing a drawer front of a chest. I could be doing doors. Maybe I'm doing the inside panels of something. You can't mess this up, guys. I promise. It's so fun. I'm going to turn it this way. Just wanting to make sure that I don't have any excess. You see, look at this. I didn't load it up again. If I get some on the outside of my stencil, I'm not worried about it at all, because all I have to do is wipe it off. All right, so now, you ready? Let's see. This is really addictive to do this. Are you with me? Guys, come on. Hold on. I gotta hold this up. You gotta see this. OMG. I never, ever, ever, ever get to the point that I don't love this. Look at this. So now let's talk about it for a second. Thank you for the love. Y'all are just the best. So now what did I do? I stained my board first. I came and I added the milk paint, where I mixed 7 parts of the Amalfi Coast, 7 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons of black. I applied that over this. I used the antiquing glaze. That antiquing glaze gave me this gorgeous texture under this. And then I was able to come back, and after it dried, just 20 or 30 minutes, and then I applied the Paris stencil with the chalk art. Now, you're like, but Amy, so is that permanent if I want to do that on a piece of furniture? The answer is no. What we're going to have to do, now, I can take this, I'm going to wash it, and then I'm going to line this back up because I want to fill in everything. I'm not going to do that on this live, but that is what I want you to do because you can reuse that. So let's hit this with a hairdryer really quickly. I am loving this chocolate on this blue. Are y'all loving it? This would actually be a piece of art. It would look great on a piece of furniture, but I could also see it on a piece of art. It dries very quickly. And now all I have to do in order to be able to make this permanent, I'm going to come back with what? My matte sealer. Because the great thing about the matte sealer is it's completely matte. And it's going to seal this and make it a piece of art. So all I have to do is come back with my matte sealer. I use a foam roller. I won't use a brush. And that's going to seal this chalk art into my piece to where it's completely permanent. So I can enjoy it on a piece of furniture. I can enjoy it on a piece of art if I want to. I might make a board with it. But it really and truly now makes it something that I can enjoy. It makes the chalk art permanent and definitely something that you can enjoy the bragging rights from. This is going to dry down completely matte with the matte sealer. I love how these two colors go together so beautifully. The matte Now, can you see the matte sealer starting to dry? It's drying down to that beautiful matte, no sheen, no brush marks, finish. Look at that. It's sealed, it looks old, it looks fabulous. Could you come back and add wax to it if you wanted to? Absolutely. But the matte sealer allows your chalk art and your milk paint now to be one and done. Oh my gosh, that's so fast. Look at that. So the main thing I want you to see is that I wanted you to be able to understand. Let me get this camera. Oh, I love that idea as a tray. Wouldn't it be a beautiful tray? You can see how it's kind of darker and it's starting to dry down. It's going to go back. That matte sealer is going to allow you to have this go back down to that gorgeous blue color. But it really allows you an opportunity to create texture. It allows you to be able to make something look like it was really old. But also remember, if you want it to be permanent, you don't want to antique it, add the binder to your milk paint. If you want to antique it, that's okay. You can come back and you can add furniture tonic. It's going to be a lot darker. Or you can come back, add some type of ornamentation with your chalk art, allow it to dry, and then you can just come over it with the matte sealer, and it's going to make your piece matte and absolutely beautiful so you can enjoy it for years to come. You do not have to add wax to this. If you want to add wax, I would start with the light antique wax, add a little bit of dark wax. That's just going to age it. But there's something about just having this dead flat matte finish and that distressing under that milk paint that I think is just absolutely glorious. So if you're just now popping on, please say hi, share this video. I'll go back and look at your questions, do hashtag replay, say hey, tell me where you're watching from, and please, let's rescue this furniture. Let's take these pieces that are great American pieces of furniture and rescue and restore them. Let's not throw them away. We're filling up these landfills. We're creating landfills with furniture that needs to come in our homes because we want to be able to rescue and restore them. Have a fantastic weekend.